sponsored program are strictly those of the host, guests, and callers, and not necessarily those of this station, its staff, management, or sponsors. Well, it's 1 o'clock, and the Brooklyn Cafe is open for business. The team is ready to serve you a huge portion of fun for lunch. So let's break open the lunch pail and unwrap that sandwich you brought, take a seat in the Brooklyn Cafe, and get ready to enjoy the humor and hot topics. It's time to get a healthy serving of feel-good and happy soup to help your day go by easier and enjoy your break with others around you. Your hosts, Dawn and Freddy S., are ready to talk about food, health, dating, or dream making. It's the feel-good food you need to help that bagel go down nice and smoothly. If you have a story to share, anything that happened at work or play, a movie review, a restaurant critique, or just a coincidental thing that happened to you, call in toll-free 888-565-1470 right now. So sit back and enjoy your lunch break at the Brooklyn Cafe and let Dawn and Freddy S. get your happy juices flowing.
Got this feeling inside my bones. It goes electric wavy when I turn it on. Off from my city.
Welcome, welcome, welcome to all our friends in South Florida, LA, New York. You know, this is so weird. Just a weird thing.
San Francisco, Chicago.
Yeah, you do that.
And Hawaii.
Never Hawaii.
You know what?
Because Koreans got that.
If we didn't have, what's going on right now? A bomb? What?
Cyclone.
A cyclone bomb. If we're in the middle of a cyclone bomb,
coldness.
I bet Hawaii's not having it right now.
I gotta tell you, it is so
It's
freaking,
so cold.
it has been so cold over the weekend. You like that?
That's pretty
It has
good.
been so cold over the weekend that Santa Claus froze.
I thought he went back to the North Pole.
No, he didn't make it. He got caught at the North Carolina bridge that is now
Everyone got
frozen
shut
shut. Did you see that on Friday they froze the bridges?
Everyone is stuck now in North Carolina.
My stepdaughter Sarah is stuck in North Carolina. She can't come home because the bridge froze. And they're stopping everybody in Savannah.
Well,
It is
welcome back.
ridiculous.
I hope you had a great time.
It was fantastic. But we will not talk about Gio's wedding today because
We'll
we have
wait.
more important things to
We've
talk
got
about.
lots of things going on today to talk
We
about.
got to get into this real quick because, like they say, it's not where you start the race, it's where you end it. So we have to sort of push this out today.
It's not the words, it's the intent behind the words. I keep saying that over and over. And our guest today, I'm going to let you pronounce his last name, Dr. Carlos
Orozco.
Orozco.
Roscoe.
As he says, it's not only the words, it's the vibration, it's the intent of all the energy around us. And that is why, and we'll talk about this also, I need to get into it, why texting is such a problem. Because all the texting is the words. And then we lose all the energy. And John Wellman from Vitalizer app is shaking his head. Yes, yes. We lose all the intent behind the words with a text. And that is when everything, and I always say, goes wonky. That is my new word.
Wonky?
Wonky.
Yes, that is because you are wonky.
It makes everyone, I can't even tell you it's a real word, but it just works, doesn't it?
Agreed.
So we have a lot of information to get to today. You can find us on Facebook and Periscope at the Brooklyn Cafe TV, 95.3 FM and 1470 AM. Please type any comments you have into our Facebook screen, and we will get those to John and Dr. Carlos and Faith as well. Welcome, everybody. We've got a lot of information. We've got Faith Washington joining us, and John Wellman, welcome back. We really missed you.
I missed you guys
It
too.
is
but
so
I've been
not the
busy.
same. You've been busy.
And that's what happens when you come on the show. You get the phone calls and off you go. You know, so thank you for catapulting me into where I am. And right now
So
it is
busy.
like we all
Well, you know,
it's-
the funny thing is, I think that he's here today because over the weekend it was 30 degrees in Tampa. And you were in Tampa, right? So you came to 50 degrees.
Absolutely.
There you
Just
go.
to warm up
That's
a
why
little.
you did that. I got you. I got you.
Absolutely.
So cold. We've had lots of things going on our table here.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about Vitalize, the Vitalizer app, and what's really exciting is we're going to debunk any questions anybody seems to have about how it works. How can an app work? How can it change the molecular alignment? How can energy and sound from your phone possibly do these things? And it goes way beyond a phone app. It goes to the quantum mechanics of what it is. And since Freddie and I are not the experts in quantum mechanics, we're going to turn it over to Faith. And Faith, you introduce everyone and what's going on our set today.
Absolutely. Very excited to have Dr. Carlos Orozco here. He is an MD, a PhD, and multiple other letters after his name. He is an expert in quantum mechanics. I have had the privilege of seeing some of the many formulas that he has come up with. and he is part of the energy behind the Vitalizer app, as well as multiple other innovations within the health and biological sciences industry. So John Wellman also is here. John is the owner of the Vitalizer app. He is also a former businessman in precious metals, an expert in that field as well. So welcome, gentlemen. We're so thankful to have you here today.
Thank you, Faith.
Thank
Glad
you,
to be
Faith.
back again.
So excited. What do we have on our table?
Yes, Dr.
I
Carlos.
mean, it looks like toys
Well, I'll say
Yeah.
one thing. First, we have the hair profiler.
for the cell
Okay,
well-being.
that's when I took your hair, and I did the profiling on that. And then here is the quantum mechanics, and Dr. Carlos is going to explain how that works.
Now, I always think of, remember the show Quantum Leap with Scott Bakula when we were kids growing up? And it had to be quantum physics and quantum mechanics, but back in the day I didn't know what it was. He would just leap back in time and was, I am assuming, the energy of what it is. I mean, this goes right into all these little toys that I think the kids would love to play with, but they won't.
They might after this
They
show.
won't, but
You know,
it's okay.
Well, that's interesting because I remember in Star Trek, they say you cannot displace energy. Energy never disappears. Is that correct? So it's all about straightening it out and using it, which is, I think, I mean, I'm not an expert, but I have seen your app work. And much to my surprise, I seen the lemon says, listen, I'm here, and I'm gonna call a spade a spade. That lemon that you cut up was bitter,
He
and
talks
then you
about
did
it
it.
every day.
And my goodness, it was sweet. I have never in my life ever been able to figure this thing out.
Well, that's why Dr. Carlos, he's going to be able to explain why that happens. And again, it's not just the lemon thing, but it's anything liquid, basically. It can change.
But you can taste it in
and
the lemon.
yourself.
That's why it's so
Yes.
important. Is because the water, you don't taste the change. Your coffee, maybe, maybe not. But the lemon, you truly taste the change.
There's no
of
getting
what
around
is.
it.
It is what it is.
Even wines,
One of
John.
the things that's important here, and Dr. Carlos will explain, water is very important. Very important.
I should have vitalized my
Explain why.
water, by the
And
way.
you know what's interesting is our bodies, the human body is actually made up of 75 to 80% water. So when you have that much water in a body, and if it is not aligned, then you are not going to get the optimization of your nutrition, of your workouts, of whatever it is that you're doing in your life. And that is how dis-ease can actually begin. So, Dr. Carlos, maybe you could explain to us how the resonance and frequency are able to line those water molecules up within our bodies, within a lemon, within anything that we use the Vitalizer app on. If you could do that for us
Yeah,
in a
absolutely.
simplistic way.
Absolutely.
For
No,
me and
it's
Freddy,
a,
actually.
it's a real pleasure to be here, and thank you so much for the invitation and for the opportunity to talk about this, because this is not science fiction anymore. At one stage, as you mentioned, those shows when we were little kids watching TV and seeing Star Trek and people getting beaming Scotty and all these things that now are basically part of everyday life for many people. It seems that we're really far away from all this. I remember a show called The Supersonics, and this was a cartoon show where you can have all the technology that you wanted, but these people used to have watches, and then you'll see people like Robotina there asking her that was the maid of the show, and they were controlling every move she made at home. And this was in the 60s, you know, and now this is part of the everyday life. We got that on with mobile phones and all that. And of course, the communication system is changing, because nowadays people aren't using any words anymore. We used to text everybody. And with that, we lose out, or we miss out on the energy that can be transferred just by simply using your vocal cords to send a message. And that's just
interesting
unbelievable.
that you say that, because it's not when you put it in terms of energy, which we never do. We always say it's the intent, it's the meaning behind it.
Exactly.
But it's really the energy is what comes from all of our words.
Exactly. I mean, when you think about it, no one has everything a thought. You can talk to as many neurosurgeons as you like to and ask them, how many thoughts have you seen every time you open a brain? There's none. You know?
Exactly.
And you say, well, I only trust what I see. Well, sorry, mate. You cannot see the earth that you're breathing. You cannot see the amazing energy that goes behind the intent of every thought that you got every day, so that you got a purpose for your life with some significance to whatever you're living in or whatever circumstances you are surrounded by. And you don't get lost in all these thoughts that you have, because there is something that is ruling all this, and it's quantum mechanics. There's a lot of information now on the web, and I admire people who are there attempting to explain it, and the fact is that you can't. And many people who are highly well-known academics from many places, especially here in the US, you got people that actually are talking and describing quantum mechanics from wherever that came from. And we know that the beginning of quantum mechanics is set on the experiments that were done in quantum physics. And my question is, do you know what the word quantum means? Everybody talks about quantum. What is it? You got quantum pendants, you got quantum beds, quantum pet, you got quantum everywhere.
What does quantum
So,
mean?
What is quantum?
So give us a
It just
simple
sounds sophisticated.
explanation.
Sounds like a complicated word.
It's a complicated word that is very simple. The word quanta comes from the Latin how much. And when it comes to nature, it's working out how much energy you need to do anything. And nature always answers with the same answer. The minimum amount possible. That is quantum.
Path of least resistance.
The path of least resistance.
Absolutely.
The least effort. The least you put into something, the greatest is the benefit. This is what Heinemann managed to prove with homeopathics. We know that the more you dilute something, the stronger it becomes. How come? You're diluting that to the power of nothing. And yet, it works like a charm. And it works at the right time, at the right place to do the right thing in the right object.
Well, why is that?
Because of resonance. And this is when we talk about communication. Resonance is the ability of a system to communicate with another. And when you find resonance, communication by sharing information occurs. Otherwise, it's just data that is being stored somewhere. And your brain is able to decode all this. And not only your brain, every single one of your trillions of cells is a brain in its own right. And all together they form this amazing concert called life. And I suppose people like music. Some of us like certain types of music, others like other type of music, but it's sound. And that sound vibrates with your personality. You feel cheerful, you feel great, just because the tune that you love is playing up. And when you know that, boom, all of a sudden, whatever you attach that sound to, it comes back. People in their first love, which is perhaps one of the most important, significant events that any human can experience, when they fall in love for the very first time, and that music is playing in the background, that gets stuck into your system forever. And you say, that's our song, you know, that's the song that keeps me cocky, keeps me kicking.
And I have a question to
Or
interject
coffee,
here.
I don't know. Either way.
Either way, could be
Keeps you
both.
going.
My question is, in that feeling great the first time you fall in love,
Yeah.
or whatever is happening, how important is it for the human body to feel great?
Amazingly important. In fact, we got
Yes.
the molecules of greatness. They are called neuropeptides, the molecules of emotion. I can recommend a book for all of you who like to get into this. It's called The Molecules of Emotion, written by Candice Pert. She wrote this book ages ago when she was working isolating these little tiny substances from the gut. And we found something amazing. The gut is a brain in its own right. Nowadays, when we studied physiology in a book called Guyton, that is the basic Bible of physiology, this is taught at university level from med school and also in biological sciences. The Guyton talks about something we call the digestive system. And now we call that system the enteric nervous system, because it's a whole brain in its own right. In fact, it's been discovered that we have more neuropeptides in our gut than whatever we had in the cephalic mass.
Which is
So
why our
this
gut
is
is our
why
first
you got the
brain.
good feeling, the
First
gut
brain,
feeling.
second brain.
Exactly, it's a brain in its own right. So it can integrate energy and information so that you can distribute it right across your entire network of cells. And we are made of anywhere between 50 trillion to 100 trillion cells. That's a lot of cells. And they all interact with each other, like knowing exactly what they need to do. And this is amazing. All that is because of synchronicity. All that is given by signals that are electrical in origin. So called electromagnetic frequencies that allow for the communication to take place.
Okay, let me ask you this, because we've only been on air for like 15 minutes, and
Sure.
we've given out an enormous amount of information.
Yes, absolutely.
If I backtrack, you have a PhD and MD. What was your area, or is your area of specialty?
Well, I should start with my bachelor's because I did biology before I did all this. I did experimental biology, and I specialized in something called biophysics and biochemistry. From then on, I went and did a master's degree in immunology, and that's because I wanted to study cancer and related it to pregnancy, because it's the same event, cell communication, or lack of communication in some ways, because the body doesn't have a clue sometimes as to what it's doing. But in fact, it does know exactly what it's doing for a very, 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 very good reason. Part of that reason, and it's a huge part of it, is lack of self-love, if you believe it or not. No? And this is part of the issue that we can talk about later.
That's a whole nother
The
issue.
next thing that came along in my life was a PhD in biochemistry that I did in Australia. And I specialize in something called reproductive biology, or something that we might call the early embryonic signals that a mother receives as soon as she has become pregnant. And then from then I went on and worked for the pharma industry for 13 years. And at that time I did medicine as an interest, because it was just the obvious thing to do. I was working for the pharma industry. I had to know more about what they were selling and why they were selling it. So I got trained into that. But then with my background in previous lives, meaning my PhD, I managed to do a subspecialty in something called gynecological oncology, which brings the world of cancer with pregnancy together, something that I started with in the first place. And then from then I went on and did natural medicine. So I enrolled in a course for 4 years where I taught, and at the same time I took lessons or lectures at the same place to get qualified as a naturopath. And then when I was doing that, I specialized in something called traditional Chinese medicine.
There you go.
And from that, I learned more about what is important, why TCM, that's traditional Chinese medicine, works so well. It's got a history of 5,000 years. The Chinese can even disappear from people in front of you. You can see Bruce Lee's movies from way back and look at the way he was moving his body when there was no tricks on TV or anything. He was doing it himself. And when you look at all this, what is behind all this? The answer is energy.
Energy. So energy takes us back, and
takes us
self-love.
back to everything. And when you were talking about this little thing about falling in love for the first time, what's going on there? Well, your dopamine levels are so high. Dopamine is a neurotransmitter that eventually produces something called adrenaline. And adrenaline keeps your heart beating, as such, you know, it keeps you going. And it's such a wonderful thing because your dopamine is high up and you are on top of the world. These fall into a range of molecules that are basically known as pheromones, and this is what dogs, for example, can smell on you.
It's that smell, Freddy. It's that scent we
And
have.
this, that smell, that
Yeah, the
sense
lady
that
I
you
want you to
have.
meet that says that stuff.
You know that a dog is in heat as well because they can sense that by smelling. So the smell that you don't see, I mean, how can you smell anything and say, show it to me? You can't, but you can sense it.
Yeah.
Okay, and then we got these amazing molecules called endorphins that are the molecules of make me feel great. You know, so there is a whole network of issues here, or working not randomly, they work in perfect synchrony. And when you release endorphins by having a good laugh, for example, your blood pressure changes dramatically. You know, if you were feeling a little bit down, now you're in the high. And you're
Well, when people are sick, right, and let's say, you, God forbid, somebody has cancer, and then you tell them you got cancer, they go from top of the hill to the bottom of the hill real fast.
Absolutely.
Everything changes, and you get sick.
And
it's better not to know.
yeah, that's exactly
Is that what
right.
you're talking about? It's that
Strangely
whole-
enough,
Yeah,
yes.
that
it's all
is-
part of your mind.
It's all part of the setup that you have been programmed with that is at work. That what you just mentioned in mathematics is called an inflection point. And in physics, it's called the 0 point. And in life, it's called the world of wonderful opportunities. Because all of a
That
sudden,
one I understand.
Yeah,
That's about my speed. Right
you've got to do something with that to make it big, because it's come to a point. The point is here and now. I've been told this. Now my life is going to change because I won't look at time the way I used to anymore.
And you know, the real truth here is that you have to sort of really believe that for it to work. Like, I know people that have been with cancer and they have trained them, you have to be positive, you have to stay positive, but they're not feeling it. They're saying it, but you can tell it's not there, and they get sick. But if you feel it and you live it and you sort of ignore, it's like my father, he's 87, he says, so what? I said, Dad, that's pretty good. He says, wait till I get to 97, it's gonna be even better. He doesn't look at illness that way.
Exactly.
He says, you got a pain. Who doesn't?
That's
Keep
right.
going.
just keep going.
This is on the one hand, the power of perception, depending on how you look at the same thing. Everybody can look at one object in so many different angles. But if you got the right attitude, and as you said before, the intention, what is your intention in living? What are you living for? Why are you living the way you are? If you got an answer to those questions, and that happens to be coherent with your intent, you will live no matter what. But the thing with cancer and many other degenerative diseases is the fear factor. Mm-hmm. And what people say and what people believe, which is not really what it is, it's just a belief. And that belief is basically found in a textbook sometimes, that we don't see beyond that. I have been to a number of international conferences. I've been attending them, and I've also been lecturing there. And one of the things that I talk to people about, regardless of whether I'm on the stage or talking to people like the way we are now, I just say to people, you know, all that physiology, all that anatomy, all that biochemistry, all that amazing embryology and immunology, everything that is related to the way we learned has nothing to do with the way we're living.
No,
and yet it's got everything to do with it.
Yeah.
It's because we forget. We forget. We go back. If we go back to childhood and having fun and the intention of play and energy in everything we do, and as Faith always says, you need to believe before you see.
Absolutely.
Which takes us back to when the neurosurgeon opens up your brain. Do they see before they believe, or do you believe before you see? And all of these things we keep talking about in perception. And now I think we've opened up many Pandora's boxes in the first 20 minutes of this show. So when we come back from commercial break, we're going to tie it all together and show you how and why quantum mechanics ties into the Vitalizer app and why the Vitalizer app is so important for you all to have on your cell phone and all of your.
Want to make your smartphone brilliant?
Hey, I'm Doris Vilk. When life keeps you crazy, the job, the kids, a husband, how do you escape? Fantasize about romantic evenings? Follow the exploits of Hollywood actress Susan Chatham in my erotic novels, Love Arrested and Love Attempted, and revel in Susan's steamy love life. There's lust, passion, and betrayal. But what doesn't kill her makes her insatiable. Buy the ebooks or paperbacks at Amazon. Visit me at DorisVilk.com. That's V as in vibrant. Prepare to be aroused.
What is Debersize? With over 25 years of personal training experience and workout techniques, Deb Varsalone invites you to Debersize. Debersize comes to you from the privacy of your own home or group training facility. Debersize can meet your individual fitness needs, offering one-on-one, non-impact resistance training, post-surgical strengthening to higher-level boot camp and weight training. Debersize will meet your personal fitness goals at any age. Contact Deb at 561-307-9283. Schedule an initial consultation and get ready for a stronger, healthier you. 561-307-9283. Welcome to the Brooklyn Cafe, where every day is a new adventure. If you'd like to join Don and Freddy S. at the cafe, give them a call at 888-565-1470 toll-free. Come on in or call to share a thought for the day and get all the information you need to help your business grow. That's 888-565-1470. Let's reopen the cafe doors. Now, back to Don and Freddy S.
Join Don and Freddy weekdays at 1 at the Brooklyn Cafe for all your fun.
And we're back. We are back on a magical Monday at the Brooklyn Cafe TV. You can find us live streaming on Facebook and Periscope at the Brooklyn Cafe TV, 95.3 FM, 1470 AM. For the first 20 minutes of this show, I think we opened up Pandora's box. We have more questions to be answered than we had going into. We started talking about quantum mechanics and TV shows and believing before seeing and neuroscience and neurophysics and energy and word intention. But now what we need to do is really hone this all back into how the Vitalizer app works, because Dr. Carlos and John Wellman are here from Vitalizer app. We have Faith Washington joining us today on set. But really, we want to talk about the Vitalizer app and why it's so important to have our cells in alignment in our body, and how the energy is important, and the water, and all of these things that we've been talking about. We need to bring it back full circle.
Sure.
So welcome, Faith, Dr. Carlos, and John. We're talking about quantum mechanics, and oh my goodness, everything that we talk about on our show, we have now discussed here, and faith and believing before seeing, and even loving yourself, which is everything we talk about.
That's right. That's
loving
our
yourself
platform.
first, and then perception, how we perceive things, and texting. And you know, Freddie and I each got the same text the other day, and he took it one way and I took it the other, and it was not a group text. And he says, "What do you think?" And this is what I thought, and this is what he thought. The words were exactly the same, because the energy behind it and the meaning behind it was different on our perception of what it is.
Yeah.
Let's talk about how all of the energy works within the Vitalizer app. And John, really, what is the Vitalizer app?
Yeah, go ahead, Carlos. You can explain. Because it's mostly frequency explain it.
Sound and light.
Let's
It's-
explain how the
Sound and light,
Vitalizer
exactly.
app
It's
works.
the best way to
Okay.
do it.
The
Well,
combination of those
The
things.
Vitalizer app is basically an app that works using a couple things, light and sound. When you look at life, everything is light. At the bottom of everything, there is something called light. And this light is made of what we call the part of the visible spectra, which we got a range of colors, and we can go from the red right to the violet. And then we go beyond the violet, we got the ultraviolet, and we don't see anything there. But then there's sound afterwards. All of a sudden, you're finding yourself immersed in this amazing soup of energy. And energy has a beautiful characteristic: it vibrates. It allows you to communicate with other beings, especially within you, with your cells. So we've taken that concept of communication through resonance, and what we have done is imprinted some specific frequencies in the app. And what is a frequency? Well, that has to do with waves. And what is a wave? What is one of the ways that energy expresses itself? And we got different types of waves. Yes, we do. We have Hertzian waves or sinusoidal waves, but we also have gravitational waves. These ones were just described last year for the very first time since Einstein in 1905 described them. But no one ever was able to prove their existence, and yet they are everywhere. So how come? Well, these gravitational waves are exactly the way energy expresses and expands itself through everything. The best example I can give you for you to prove that to yourself is go to a pond with this crystal clear mirror of water and just throw a little pebble in there. And you'll see the waves that will start forming. All of a sudden, they will start in the center and they will expand towards the end.
Well, let me ask you this. How
And
do we take
this
all
is
of this
something-
energy, though, into our phone?
That's exactly what I'm about to tell you.
Okay, good.
Everything has a frequency. Every single thing on the entire universe that we're part of. And now we're talking about multiverses, because we discovered it's only part of another one, and another one, and another one. So we got multiple verses, multiple universes. In the one that we're in here, right now, energy is at the core of all this. And why? Because it's got frequency. It can actually recognize self from non-self, just like immunology does. And when that happens, you mentioned about intention. Well, you can actually align yourself based on that intention and use that vehicle to do it. And that is the concept of the app. The app is bringing frequencies using light and sound that when you put it next to your body or next to anybody, like even water, you basically allow the molecules there to adopt certain geometries based on the vibration that you're putting in.
Faith, can you show us the app while he's
Yes.
talking?
And
If you guys, I don't know if you can see it here.
Yeah.
on the
And
phone.
it's Vitalizer app, app.com. And there are 4 different elements that you can choose from
Four
on the
different
app.
frequencies
Right.
is what's
It's the
on there.
frequencies,
It's the
okay.
frequency again, yes. Everything has a frequency.
Exactly.
Everything.
Like you have a wave. I mean, your frequency, for example, in the world that we live in, and that means how you can be identified, is your signature. Your signature has the power of intent there because whatever you sign belongs to you.
Now, is this signature the same for everybody? In other words, is Faith's signature the same as my signature?
No.
But this is what makes the app so unique
This
because
is
it works on
anybody.
different signatures. So you don't have to have the same signature, but that's a remarkable thing you're saying right now, if you think about that. John's signature is different from mine, but yet it will work the same for me as it will for you.
Yes.
So the app works the same. So Chi on John, it's the same app, it's the same frequency, will work on John, and the same Chi app will work on Freddie, but it'll work
But
as their
remember,
body needs it.
Exactly.
John, turn that mic in your face.
Exactly. Let's say I just pulled up to the studio.
Right.
Okay, and gee, what happened to Freddy? He's a little late. He comes running and goes, oh my God, I was almost in a car accident. Well, his chakras are going to be way out of balance where I had a good drive here, so I'm a little bit more calmer. Everybody's energy and frequency are different.
So that changes constantly.
And that, just
It also changes in accordance with what we were talking about before, your perception. Your perception of where you are right here and now. If you have a load of stuff that you're carrying with you and you bring that forward, that's going to change your perception of your reality, of
That's
who
right.
you are being
That
in
is
this
correct.
moment. And if you start from a clear space of clarity and there's nothing in front of you, then you're creating impossibility.
Then I have a question. When you get bad news, like when I found out that my mother died, they called me on the phone. I felt like a bullet go through my head. And my whole body went numb. And there's this feeling that you get that separates you. And then all of a sudden it comes back. Is that the energy level changing in my body? Is that what's going on?
Yeah, that is basically caused by, obviously, the shock of the news, but that has a physiological effect, that has a biochemical effect, that has a cellular effect, that has an atomic effect, that has a quantum effect. All of a sudden, you're talking about this. And not only you, but the way you're feeling right there, right now, is felt by your dog, your cat, anything, any being that is around you, because this energy doesn't confine just to your body. This is universal, and this is why it works for everybody, because we are in a universe. I just said that before. And what happens with this is that you tune up to find harmony within any situation, because that is what the body is meant to be doing at all times, harmonizing everything. And harmonizing is not balance at all.
Right.
Harmonizing is the ability of resonating again, because when you have a shock like that, that resonance gets right through your door,
does.
you know? And even though you might have the worst day in your life, you never thought it could be that bad, because now it really hit just bottom when you got a news like that. And you think that's the worst part of it. And
It's
in
not.
fact, it's just perception.
You know, it's amazing.
It's just perception.
But it's amazing you're bringing this up, because that just tells me that this app is plugged in to everybody. We are all what this app just brings out forward. It's just a way of saying, listen, we're going to straighten you out, but you're doing this every second of every day. You are the app if you look at it in the other way.
Exactly.
You
if
are
you're
the
having
app.
a day like that, can the app help align you better?
Well, yes, it does. And let me tell you why. Everything is geometry. Everything has an angle. And we have proven that in physics, in maths, in chemistry. We talk about secret geometry. Now we talk about Fibonacci's numbers. We got about fractals. We talk about all these things that are in the net. And you can see lots of this as to how nature is using all the basics to create the complexity that we're immersed in. And yet it's very simple. So the idea of simplicity comes to number one, the unity, the unifying, unification. When you get news like that,
Right.
you need to come back to yourself and be centered in you.
Right.
Because the shock is so big. And I had the same experience when I was, through a phone call, I found that my dad had transcended at the time. And how could that be? You know, it really hits your... But once you align yourself to things, you can make out of that trauma, a wonderful opportunity to show people how much you love yourself by celebrating instead of mourning, by looking at the positive side instead of the negative side, by celebrating, I'm saying life. Life itself deserves to be celebrated. The app allows you to do that. Every single one of your cells knows wellness. And state of wellness is a state of harmony. Because depending on how that cell is functioning, what messages is going to send around its environment so that the other cells will get the same message. And that's within your body. So when you turn the app on and you allow for one of the prompts to energize your body, meaning to send waves to your body, what you're sending is energy in the form of light and sound. And when this combination is very powerful, because what it does, it creates direction. It gives direction to your intention so that you can have a purpose for doing whatever you want to do, that's intent, and give it significance, that's the why you're doing it. And the ultimate answer for that why is love, for self-love. Why do you get up to do what you do? For self-love. Because you need to get love first before you can give it out.
Well, let me ask you this question. People, we talk about how our mind affects our body physiologically, and we talked about loss, but what about people in worry and fear? Mm-hmm. And then those worries and that energy and that fear then comes back and it manifests itself physically, whether it be cancer or an ulcer, mm-hmm. or however it manifests in your body. Can we use the app to help in any regards to this?
You can increase your awareness as to what's happening within you. We are not really fully aware of all the millions of reactions that are taking place in our body at any second. You are only aware from what your consciousness is telling you that your body is doing. That means you're breathing. That means you're feeling the environment the way you are. But what about all the substances that are produced and released at the time that you're talking about this? There are 1,000,001. And what allows that to happen is that you feel the way you feel because you are feeling the product of all the interaction that is going on within you.
But you can become more aware
Absolutely.
Of how you're feeling. And I'll use this term loosely, your gut
exactly
is where you begin to feel those things. And if you remain aware of that, then your thoughts can shift.
Exactly.
You can use the app, you can shift your thoughts and become aligned.
Well, which of these different frequencies then, if we're looking at the gut, is it what we're consuming through our gut with the water, the wine, or do we use the chi?
Yeah.
Which one do we choose?
It is a chi, it is the energy that is there beforehand, so that you can actually get the water to be structured in a way that you can get inside your cells. That means you can get hydration. There's one thing that when we talk about water, water is essential. In fact, I just been to a water conference in Bulgaria in October, among the best people in the world, best scientists you can possibly ever think of. Among them, Gerald Pollack from the University of Washington, who is the chairman of that conference. And there was a consensus. The body is made of 99.9% water. And the reason for that is that it's not only the water that is in your blood, or what we call serum, or the water that is in your kidneys, because it actually allows you to go and urinate. No, it's the water that every single reaction within your trillions of cells happens as it releases water.
How excited he gets to talk about this. It's
About water.
About water.
Listen, I'm gonna throw a curveball at you, John. You know I'm surrounded by equipment all day. You even put a meter on me at one of the shows at iHeart.
I doubt it. You're lit.
And I'm lit like a Christmas tree. But I'm gonna tell you something. I'm a real happy guy. I mean, yes, right? I mean, I don't take too many things in my life. I don't take myself too seriously. It's not about that. Mm-hmm. But whenever you get positive energy, then you're able to give positive energy, right?
Exactly.
So all of a sudden, I don't have to have the flu or feel bad to use the app. I use the app just to keep me going, just to keep me giving, because giving is a whole lot harder than taking.
Yeah.
It really is. And the bottom line here is that I think that what you have here, and people that are listening today, you are this app. You may not know it, but you are this app.
Exactly.
He's just bringing it to light. I mean, a guy who gets this excited talking about water, you got to get a paper and pen and take this down, correct?
Absolutely.
So where can we get the app? How can we
you
get
can,
that, John?
Apple or Google, depending on what phone you have, either on the iPhone or the Android.
Okay.
Or you can go right to vitalizerapp.com.
Okay.
Which is simple enough. So you had told us before we do chi first and then the water, or do we separate them?
Either one. What I do, because I found out what it does for water, and then you find out you're 98% made up of water. So I use the water app on myself first, and then I do the chi to give myself strength and balance. And the reason why I do that, because I've learned that Freddy, something comes up in life, no matter what it is, it sends you out of balance. Okay, I immediately go to my chi then to get myself in balance. And it reminds me to stay positive, stay away from the negative. It gets you this. So every time I pick up that phone, I look at the app.
You're one of the most positive guys I know.
It is. John is the most, has to be one to be, besides you, Freddie,
Yeah,
and
these
John,
two, yep.
the two of you,
And
the
now.
most positive. And Dr. Carlos, who gets excited that we're 99.9% water.
Yep.
But when you actually take the body and you break it down to those statistics, and then you think about all of the intent that runs through our body. We're water, we're cells, we're molecules, but we've got all these emotions and hormones and feelings and energy.
Because we were taught that way.
Well, that's exactly
You
it.
know, on
Things
TV,
have
you
changed,
put it on, they
right?
just want nothing but negative. You're sitting there listening to that day in and day out. You read it in the newspaper.
You're being
Negative.
programmed.
You're being programmed. Why did they call it programming?
Programming.
Okay.
That's
But
why.
why-
That's why you have to step out of the box.
Yes.
And cease and desist viewing things the way you've been programmed by
It's true.
society,
It's
by
true.
the media. Now, this show, the beauty of this show, and even my show, is that we're able to step outside that box so that we can bring this kind of information to people so they will understand. You create your reality. You create everything that you are experiencing right here, right now. And in order to recreate in a different way and step outside that box, you use the Vitalizer app. It aligns you. It allows you to feel better. You get rid of the things that are negative in your life. You remove them. You remove people that are negative from your life, or you learn to redirect your thoughts after you've been around them so that you can come back into alignment. The body's always going towards homeostasis, as Dr. Carlos reminds us. We want to line up, we want to line up, we want to line up. And that's the power of the mind that we have not tapped into. That is that, oh, you're only using 10% of your mind. Yeah, absolutely. Because you've been programmed to use nothing.
Well, you know, Faith, the funny thing is, you go on vacation. Why? Because you need to decompress. You need to feel better. Staycation, which I didn't even know was a word until they took it. You know, you meet people for a glass of wine, a cup of coffee. Why? Because you're doing what the app is allowing you to do without doing that.
Exactly. So you
I
can
mean,
feel
you're doing
good
it every
all the
day,
You
time.
want to feel good all the time.
and you want to feel good.
We're going to
you
take a
want
quick
those
commercial
cells.
break.
No, we still got 2 minutes.
Well, when we come back, I want to talk
We got
about,
2 minutes. You want to keep going?
I do want to keep going. I want to talk about who it can help, how it can help. Can it help everybody? Can we use it for our pets? And that takes us into this whole cell well-being other business venture that John is working on. We look at our hair follicles and what is making up of that. And there's so many things to talk about, and all the yoga people that we work with, and
Well, I
the
got a
connected
question.
warriors,
Yes.
and who can it help? And if you tell me I worry, I know I worry. And I can tell you a list of probably a dozen things I worry about. And I know I should not.
No more than 2 dozen.
But I can tell you it manifests in my gut. How do we not do that?
That's okay.
That's what I want to talk about.
That is going to be
Yes.
yourself. You have to make a conscious decision. Enough is enough with the negativity. I'm doing this, and that's the reason why with my app, as soon as I get a negative, no matter what it is, and believe me, I've got a ton. Guess what? I have my app right there. I look at it. I go, stay positive. Not stepping over negativity, but I am. Why? Because there's an answer. Not just going to sit there. Freddie, you said, I feel good. I got all this electricity around me, and I'm doing fine. You know why? Because you don't know you probably could even feel
Better.
but you
I know.
haven't hit that
Pathobooster.
level.
No, I got-
Path-
There's
There's
always
no
a
reason.
I
solution.
got that message loud and clear today.
All right, and on that, we're going to take a quick, can we hold that thought?
Yes.
Quick commercial break. When we come back, we're going to talk about really just restructuring, I guess as Faith says, our mind and how we see it and how it affects our body. And we'll be right back.
Want to make your smartphone brilliant?
One tap creates a virtual wine fine tuner. Another, a coffee refiner. A beauty cream and makeup enhancer.
Wow.
Look at your eye.
What a difference.
And with still just a tap, a strength and flexibility harmonizer.
Yeah, I definitely felt something different.
This is the Vitalizer.
In the App Store on any smartphone, a simple download that will embed specific frequencies and vibrations into your phone's light photons and sound waves. Calibrations designed to affect taste.
The Vitalizer one is better than the other one, for sure.
Hydration, absorption,
Feel silkier.
and perhaps most incredibly, your strength, flexibility, and energy. Amazing.
Wow.
Crazy.
Well, salud. I'm loving it.
Go to www.vitalizerapp.com and make your smartphone brilliant.
And we're back. We are back on a magnificent Monday at the Brooklyn Cafe TV. We are here with Vitalizer App, Cell Wellbeing, with John Wellman and Dr. Carlos and the lovely Faith Washington. You can find us on Facebook and Periscope at the Brooklyn Cafe TV, 95.3 FM, 1470 AM. Please put in any comments or suggestions on your Facebook or Periscope feed, and we will get those to the appropriate people to answer. You can always find your Vitalizer app at vitalizerapp.com. You can download it on your Android or on your iPhone device from the store site, correct?
Yep,
so
correct.
any phone, any device can be downloaded on that as well. We're talking about, and I interrupted Dr. Carlos because I know I wanted to give him time to share what he wanted to share. How do we change our mind thought, and can this app really help us refocus to the positive energy?
Yes, it can. This is based on Newton's third law, and this is, to every action, there is a reaction that comes back in opposite direction. And we are used to ask, and you shall be given. That's in the Bible, Matthew 7:7. It's just knock, and the door will open, and ask, and you will find. Ask, and you will be answered, you will receive an answer, or seek, and you shall find. And something that happens with this is that whatever you seek is finding you. You are not finding it. Because the minute you put your intention through, there's resonance. And the resonance is actually not confined to your body. It goes out there into the universe that you're part of. And all of a sudden, start looking for these amazing matching frequencies that will make your dreams come true.
What about people who say, I didn't look to get cancer. I didn't look to get ill. Why do I
me?
Get
it?
Right.
Exactly. And that's a question that I used to be asked every time a little boy or girl will develop this. From the lymphomas, the leukemias that are very common in kids. Nowadays, we got all the types of tumors. And the issue there is the definition of the word cancer. It's based on something that it's not really saying what cancer is. This is just regarding that. It's a term that has been monopolized by the industry. We know all about that, and I won't go into that. But the most important thing about cancer is that the body gets tired of telling you, look after you, and you don't. So it has no other option but saying, well, listen, if you don't want to survive, I do. So this body of yours is not really doing me much. I'm going to create another body within you. And that's when the cancer process begins. Your body is creating another being within you. The same way you became pregnant. It's another being within a being. Why? Because you're not looking after yourself. And comes back to self-love. So many of us have that so-called butterfly effect, and I don't know whether you know what that is. But it says in simple terms, if a butterfly is in the Amazon jungle and is in a particular tree, in a particular branch, in a particular leaf of that branch, and it moves from that leaf to another leaf in the same tree, in the same branch, in the same jungle, the amount of air that it displaces with the wings as it's moving from one leaf to the next, it's able to cause a tsunami in Japan. And what does that tell you? Things add up to that. And as this builds up, it builds up this amazing funnel. And vortex. It's a vortex. And vorticial energy is the one that is at hand. And this is why I got these little things here. When you have something like this, all of a sudden, you put your intent there, and what you get is that. You get the whole works, and you don't even know how you got it. And this works for good and so-called bad.
So it's
the same way, it just amplifies itself. to the point of no return. And you get a lot more than what you ask for. But we are so blind by this that we don't even notice it. And some of the things that happen here is that this particular shape is the shape that energy uses in order to make a huge impact using something very tiny. All you need is the right intention, set in the right frequency to do the right thing at the right time with the right people for the right reason.
Faith, we need a T-shirt to say that.
Yes, we do.
And when you have that,
We need a T-shirt because it starts that simple.
Yeah.
The intention to the frequency to all of everything you just said that
And
we
then
need to
it's
put on the
amplified.
T-shirt, and it amplifies to bring in the goodness of self-love and purpose and
Exactly.
perception. Everything we've talked about comes down to intention
exactly.
and energy.
And that's how you can change your mind. Okay, if you are diagnosed with something, whatever it is, okay, fine. But you can immediately say, okay, fine, I heard it, but I'm not going to let what that doctor told me
That's right.
and let it amplify.
Pay
No,
attention.
I'm not doing
Pay
that. My
attention to what
intention
you're
is,
thinking.
I'm well. I'm going to stay well. I never even had cancer. I'm already telling myself that. My brain kicks in and goes, he doesn't have it. And what does the brain do constantly? Every millisecond, sending out signals.
And so
Do
is your
this,
gut.
Do that, do this, do that. So my intention is there.
Yeah.
Make myself
So what you're saying is, if I'm a runner, right, and I want to cut 3 seconds off my time, I tell my body
Just do it.
Just
to do it. So I'm going to train to get there.
Exactly.
So this is no different than overcoming
Yeah.
illness.
I
You just to
can-
train your body to believe it, to believe what's going
And
on.
there's no way your body can tell that you are not really living it because you're already geared to do all that and more. And as a consequence of that, you can break records from your own sake, in your own time. And you can do things more efficiently than before, using less time to do more things.
Gotcha.
And I've been involved in a few things lately where I've seen that over and over and over and over again. And now I'm discovering something amazing. It depends on why you are doing it. Not the what, not the how, not the what for. It's the why. And you know something? The simple answer is because of love. That's the only answer. You're not doing it for anything else. When you get that, then you can get love, and then you can give it away. And you know something? Every single time that you do that, you're creating opportunities for your body to bring about other things that you need. Your body is the best pharma company there is in the entire universe. It produces everything at the right time, in the right amount, with the right concentration to do the right thing for you. But you got to ask it. Because if you don't, your body is going to say, well, I've been telling you to give me this, but you haven't had it. So
That's
I'm
right.
going to do
You got to
something.
take a pill in order to believe that.
Exactly.
All right, now we got a few minutes. I
This
want to
is
talk
important.
about animals, because I know you're working with horses a little bit.
Yes, what we're doing now, again, working with Cell Wellbeing, what we do is we have the Cell Wellbeing hair profile, basically, and we just take 4 strands of the hair off the horse, okay, put it on here, it scans it, and within 15 minutes, we have a full approximately 28-page report of nutrients.
Of what the horse needs to get better?
Specifically, again, the same thing with humans. 'cause I was
Deficits,
doing
things
it
like that,
with,
too.
Humans.
Yeah.
Okay?
So any animal?
Right now,
Mammals?
just horses.
And
Just
humans.
horses.
And
And
of course humans.
And
yes.
humans.
But a mammal is a mammal, right? So
Yeah.
if I take a
Hair.
chimpanzee
Yeah,
that has
yeah.
hair,
That's
if I take a, what's another mammal?
You can do this. Yeah, you can do this with any hairy animal.
Hairy animal? Any hairy animal. I know about 4 guys answering me.
What happens in this instance is that your body is made based. One of the roles of the hair is to become an antenna. And I don't know, I'm not going to put an ad here, but if you manage to watch that beautiful movie called Avatar, you could actually find how people were able to communicate among themselves using the hair. And it was a long hair. Why long? Because the longer the hair, the more conductivity it's got, electrically speaking, electromagnetically. And this is why your strength comes from the hair. Proofs of that, many. Samson. And is the best example. But then all these people that were Indians here in the U.S. and they were enrolled to go to the army, they were selected because of their amazing skills that they have for logistics and tracing and all that. There was only one issue. When they enrolled in the army, they cut their hair. And they lost all the ability to do what they used to do when they had long hair. If you look at Isaac Newton, he's always portrayed with wigs and all that, but he had long hair. If you look at Leonardo da Vinci, he had long hair. If you look at Jesus, he's portrayed with long hair. Why on earth are we doing with short hair?
I think you should grow your hair.
And the reason
I got other hair.
Yeah, but the reason
the
reason I'm talking about the hair is because it's more than just something for grooming or something that we use to protection, as we're being taught in med school. The hair is there to protect you. Well, that's a role, but it's not the main role. The main role is to act as an antenna. And as an antenna, it can receive and decode information to the point that your hair rises when something is happening. That feeling that people have,
you feel what it is.
and it's basically the signal that gets sent to talking about quantum. We got the tiniest muscle in the entire body is the one that works the hardest. Is the smallest muscle that you can possibly picture. It's called the erector pili muscle. And that muscle allows the hair to rise every time you send something. And it's scanning the environment.
It's like when you get chills.
Exactly.
Our angel bumps.
That's a typical example of this. And you can see that in dogs and in cats. With their whiskers and all that, you see how excited they get with the minute you're coming back home and they haven't even seen you, but they know you're coming back. And they change their behavior. The same thing happens with so many animals. It's just communication.
Yep.
So we use that ability of the hair to store information. And where it's stored the hair is a dead tissue. It's basically made of two main proteins, melanin and keratin. None of these proteins are alive. And the hair above the shaft is only dead tissue. That's why we store
That's what it is. I got no dead tissue. All my tissues are alive.
But something that you should be aware of is that you have hair, but it's underneath the scalp. And it takes 80 days for the hair to grow from the bulb all the way up. 80 days.
80 days.
And it's sensing information as it's moving through your system because we're covered with it, whether we see it or not. And of course, the one that is, we talk about a specific region, which is the back of the head, as John pointed out. And that's because we got the spine coming through with a lot of signals from the entire nervous system.
So you're pulling it from the nervous system and the spine,
you can pick up the strongest signal.
From the spine.
And from the spine. And from every single nerve that you got in your body, because all that gets channeled through the same channel.
Oh my gosh, there's so much information, and we need to have you back again.
Yeah,
we need a part two. This is
we definitely need a part two, because now we need to talk about all the hair analysis and everything that's going on with cell well-being. Thank you, John Wellman from Vitalizer App, Dr. Carlos, Faith Washington, VitalizerApp.com. There is more to come. We have to get a t-shirt, but basically it comes down in a nutshell: energy, intention,
love.
Self-love. Have a magical Monday, everyone. We'll see you tomorrow, same time, same place. Be kind to each other.
Don't be late.
Bye-bye. Say goodbye.
Okay. Bye.
Bye-bye.
See you. Bye.
Oh.
Okay, that was really good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's about it for today, and even though the show is over, the Brooklyn Cafe is always open for business. You're invited to join the fun Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday at 1 p.m. If you missed some of the laughs from today, Dawn and Freddy S. will bring you more goodwill next time. Although today's show was live, you can follow the cafe on Facebook at Brooklyn Cafe. To rewatch every minute of the show, call 866-224-5422 to talk with Dawn and Freddy S. after the closing, or to leave an order for fun for the next show. Have a meaningful day. The opinions expressed on the preceding sponsored program were strictly those of its hosts, guests, and callers, and not necessarily those of this station, its staff, management, or sponsors.